You are now watching M.O.D. Entertainment. Make sure you subscribe and check out the playlist.
I grew up hearing gunshots in the late night. Ghetto bird, police sirens as a mother cries. Just another victim of the Soundbrown genocide. Locals posted, locked and loaded, ready to take lives. And when they heard the chieflet, they would duck up out of sight. Like your car when the sun down, it was mission time. You had to stay alert, cause bullets always travel blind. We stayed posted, we stayed drinking, and we getting high. Marchando down the enemy's neighborhood as we ride. Put the hood, put the glica sample, fuck their side. No regrets, but the truth is no peace of mind.
G-File.
Now on this side of town in Panorama and North Hills section, now you have the one that you hear about the most, the one that is the largest and active, the most active one on this side is the Blythe Street Gang. The Blythe Street Gang has been around since the 70s. They're large. They run all of Panorama. The only neighborhood in Panorama, well, you have the Willis boys, but it's mostly like you just hear about Blythe. Blythe. You can find them right there, obviously on Blythe. You can find them on Willis by the plant, through those back ends. You can find them, throughout all of Panorama. You know what I mean? Blythe Street is definitely a neighborhood that's with it. They're active. You definitely hear about them putting in their work. I mean, you can't even say that you don't. Blythe should definitely be with the business and handling their business. They ain't no chumps. They with it. Got a lot of homies from Blythe. Right there. Shout out to the homie Bad Boy. Shout out to the homie Rabs. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the homies from Blythe right there. Shout out to Moreno. That's my boy right there. Free the homie Moreno. As a matter of fact. That's a homie right there. Shout out to all the homies from Blythe, you know what I mean? That be right there representing and doing their thing. Here you have Willis Boys. Now, Willis Boys is roughly a small neighborhood. They're right here on Willis. I can't confirm if it's a 1-3, but that's what they write. I remember I bumped into a gang of these fools. I've been hit up by them. Some guy, Lazy, Sleepy. What was the other vato's name? I think Bones. They were pretty large. I do remember that they were pretty large, and they were with it, you know what I mean? Panorama right there is normally that's Blythe's neighborhood, you know what I mean? I know it used to be a tank crew that used to stand for Wicked Boys, and then they changed it to Willis Boys. You know what I mean? But yeah, you can find them right there by Parthenia, by the Panorama Swamp Meet. You know what I mean? Through those outskirts is where you'll find the Willis Boys neighborhood. They only have been around since the 90s, early 2000s. You know what I mean? But that's who they are, and they're right there representing. Now here you have Sepulveda Langdon Street. Now Sepulveda Langdon Street is also another big neighborhood out here. Now Langdon is a mixture of two different neighborhoods. It's a mixture of Langdon Street and Sepulveda 13. Sepulveda ended up becoming Langdon Street. That's why you see Sepas Langdon Street, SPLST. You know what I mean? You can find them right there on Nordhoff and Orion, on Langdon. Throughout all those back ends where you can find the Langdon Street neighborhood. They definitely big. You do hear about them, they be up there just, representing on that side for their town. You know what I mean? Now here you have the Columbus neighborhood. Now Columbus is right here, obviously on Columbus and Roscoe. Is where you can find them, especially now that the Roscoe's neighborhood got into Columbus. Also TKF, which was another tag banging crew that was pretty large, and you did hear about them. Columbus right here. They've been around since the 80s. They weren't always like a large neighborhood or had a large turf, but nonetheless, man, they're right there holding it down for their neighborhood and representing, you know what I mean? Now you have Vincenttown. Now Vincenttown's right here at North Hills. You can find them right there by where the Vallarta's at on Sepulveda. Through those back ends is where Vincenttown's at. You know what I mean? Vincenttown is a neighborhood that was been around since the 80s. They're decent size, you know what I mean? Especially now with DEF and KSM, which, were tagging crews, the tag banging crews that you know, that were with the business, and you know, they were getting up. They got into their neighborhood, becoming clicas off of Vincenttown. You know what I mean? So, you know, Vincenttown, they with the business. You know, you definitely hear about them. You know, they do their thing up there. You know, representing their neighborhood. You know what I mean? Shout out to I got a lot of homies from Vincenttown. So, you know, shout out to the homie Gizmo. Shout out to the homie Taz. Shout out to the homie Knuckles. Shout out to Marihuano. Shout out to all the homies from Vincenttown that be doing their thing. You know what I mean? Holding it down right there for their neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Now here we have Crooks. Now Crooks is right here in North Hills. They're roughly small. You know what I mean? You can find them by the by Monroe. Is where their neighborhood's at. You know, they always been roughly a small neighborhood. You know what I mean? It's been right here since the 90s. But nonetheless, you know, that's who they are, and you know, you can still catch them right there, representing and doing the thing. You know what I mean? Now here you have TJ Locos. Now TJ Locos is a neighborhood that's been around since the 80s. Is not a neighborhood that came from TJ. I know I heard a few people say that they think it's a gang that started in Tijuana. No, it's right here actually on Langdon and Roscoe, by the area. You know, the area back then used to be really jacked up. You know, it looked like the straight ghetto, homie. It literally looked like Tijuana. So the area was known as little TJ. So that's where they got the name. You know, since it was known as Little TJ, everybody knew it as Little TJ. They'll call themselves Tijuana Locos. You know what I mean? That's where they got the. That's where the name. That's where the name came from. Around that apartment plex, like almost like where Bryant Street neighborhood, where those apartments, that spot, that was known as you know, TJ Locos neighborhood. And you know, so they used to be deep. You know, they kind of had died out. They're making a comeback now. You know what I mean? But that's what's up, you know, on them and who they are. You know, they're roughly a small neighborhood, but nonetheless, man, they're right here doing their thing. You know what I mean?